David. I just came back from Palm Springs from a family reunion, and I stayed at this holiday house where the hat is. And if I could think of anything more memorable in terms of a house, this house is a holiday house. If it's not Bastille Day, then it is a non-sanctioned holiday that we used to come to, my husband and I, John, that used to come here and play dominoes with David and Phil. We'd have a little bit too much wine. It turned into maybe a little smoking. And we ended up having to spend the night. And it was like their hospitality and their graciousness was always there for us. And I'm sure it is for so many other people. David left such a mark on all of us. And I'm sure every one of us here right now are sort of lost to remember somebody's birthday or anniversary. Yeah. Because it was David that sent that email out. Every day we got an email from him saying it was Needy's birthday or something. And we were all able to wish her a happy birthday. Cassie's and Dennis's anniversary. Who knows what it was? It was there. But anyway, that's what I find myself missing so much, and reminds me so much of David. The pictures are wonderful, but I want to open it up to anybody else that wants to talk about David. He really touched every one of our heart, every one of us's heart, and he was just a wonderful man. And not just him, the partnership he had with Phil, that just made the most incredible couple. You never could decouple those two because they seemed always to be together. But anyway, does anybody, John, you said you had to say anything?
Let's all compress. Anyway, I'm just going to say a few words here, and I can promise you there are very few, but it's about David and Philip together. I think about them, and I think David thought about Philip, and Philip thought about David in sort of the same way. They were inseparable. They had their arguments, which any healthy couple do have. But they were inseparable. And so this is a little tiny piece of poetry that I have written for them both. Were there ever two guys who put more blue in the skies, more French in the fries, or apples in pies, whose long table turned down no one in town, who trounced any frown with a coronation's crown? Was there ever a pair who took every dare, aced it with flavor, then asked, so now where? Were there ever two men who bettered the world's spin, who made a grander tonic and gin, who ended each tale, and I quote this directly from both of them, and so then, and you knew you were on the path to a wonderful story. The answer, in short, seems amazingly plain. Keep your eyes on your horizon. Seek always the sun and ignore the rain.
Oh, beautiful.
And I could go on for another hour, but somebody would kick me in the rear end rightly. But I just miss them both so much. I'm sure we all do. This house, its presence, everything they did was just a touch of magic and invention and purpose and deliverance, as so is this group right today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And if anybody else would like to say something, Needy, or you could.
I'm gonna hold on to you because I can't stand the look. I think this tells it all. It says everything for me. And I think I heard every one of your names at one time or another. David has told me so many stories. And he loved every one of you. You were all such a big part of his life. And I thank you. I miss him dearly, but I'm I'm so glad he had all of you in his life. And thank you for being here.
Michelle?
It's doing it for me. I can't do it.
I understand.
I'll go.
Okay, Cassie, yes.
I'm shy, but I'll go. First of all, we went on a special date on John and David's birthday last October. We heard about this really cool. It was kind of like a Cirque du Soleil type.
Soiled experience.
Oh, the soiled dove.
Soiled dove.
Yeah, and so pretty soon it was, who's going? I'm in. So we went, and I got to be David's date, and I wish I had his corsage. This is the one that he got for me, and it's a bird with a worm, and I've saved it all this time, knowing that I would wear it to the next gathering that I came to here. I prepared these words, and they specifically relate to the Lord Ganesh statue back here that I think came from Nepal. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Had it at their Scott Street.
So I know David because of the mindfulness course that he took with me, and I'm so happy he did after Phil passed, and he was looking for some tools to put in his toolbox to cope. And thank God he took that course, because it brought so many of us fellow meditators together. I know what Ganesh meant to David, and so I just thought I'd throw a little bit of that out there if it's not too woo-woo for y'all. My words for David revolve around the essence of Lord Ganesh, which he and Phil purchased, had shipped, and then enshrined right here on the lagoon. David embodied the essence of Ganesh as he lived fully in each and every moment. Lord of beginnings, Ganesh, so powerful that it's the thrust that overcomes all impediments and obstacles. Ganesh is invoked to help remove obstacles on our path and herald in new beginnings. Our meditation group chanted with David using the specific chant for Ganesh during both of his most recent health challenges. David believed that he could heal, but more importantly, that he could experience a rebirth. I believe he's done just that. Here's to your new journey, dear David. Travel safely. We love you.
Yes.
Cheers.
I feel like I'm on again. Did anybody else have any words that they want to share about this one? Yes,
I don't even
Peter.
know what we're saying.
Yeah, we'll go.
I'm gonna cry.
Food bank.
Oh, okay, then, oh, okay, sorry.
Do you wanna go first?
No,
Hi, I'm Tony and this is Kathy, and for those who don't know, we live across the lagoon from David and Phil. And we met them 13 years ago when we first moved in. And like the first day we moved in, we looked over and we said, we need to get to know those people. Didn't know who it was. We took a walk, we left a note on their door saying, we're new neighbors and we'd love to meet you. Within a very short amount of time, we were over here having dinner, and they quickly became very, very close friends, both of them. So part of this is part Phil and David, but I have to do both. Anyway, so we were remodeling our house, and Phil, we would have dinner, And the next morning, we would have pages and pages of emails about what we should be doing differently.
From guess who? Wasn't David.
Yeah. But it was just so great getting to know them and becoming close friends with them. At Phil's memorial, for those of you who have heard this, I apologize, I'm going to do it really quick. There was one evening when we had just put in brand new windows, and we came home one day, and there was a hole in our window like a gunshot. It was shattered, like a bullet puts in a window. And we're like, what? We called the cops. The cops came. They said, oh, we'll check it out. We're like, yeah, right. They're going to check it out. So turns out to be that night, they actually did. And they came around and they knocked on doors, and they knocked on this door. And so they started asking questions. And Dave and Phil said, we don't know. Well, as it turns out, as some of you know, David says Phil did it. I don't think he did.
He was the only one.
But the night herons would sit on that fence and they would eat the ducklings when the ducks were born in the lagoon. And they didn't like that. So one day they took out their, turns out to be a BB gun, fired at the heron.
Phil did this.
Yeah.
This is not a David bit.
No,
He doesn't like
David
guns.
distanced himself. There's a David part of this. It's pretty funny. And it ricocheted, and that's what put the hole in our brand new window. It wasn't
And
even
hit
a week
a
old.
tree in the lot.
Yeah, it wasn't even a week old. So the next morning, we got a phone call, and it was from David saying, I am so embarrassed. He said, the police came last night, and Phil said, I'm taking an Ambien and I'm going to bed. And then David just said he
Stayed
didn't
awake all
know.
night.
Yeah. So then he called us the next morning and sheepishly admitted that they had put the hole in our window. So we laughed about that for a very, very long time. But we have many other stories, but in the interest of time, I'll stop there. They were just such dear friends. And they mentioned that last trip that he took to Michigan was so near and dear to his heart. And Eddie, we haven't spoken yet, but we probably had dinner with him 4 or 5 times after that. He kept bringing up how happy he was that you had come, and he was connecting with you and was looking forward to the next time, and his face just lit up. It just lit up. I said I'd stop, but I won't. One last thing. When Phil passed, David used to come over and bring his binders of his trips, because we asked him to India and every place they'd been. And he'd come over and we'd drink wine and he'd start talking. And after about the 3rd time, he'd go, so here's another one. He goes, if I've told you this before, stop me. And we'd say, you haven't told us before. Well, he had. But so he loved to tell his stories about his trips and travels with him and Phil, and we just really miss him so much, and glad to meet all of you that we haven't met yet before. Kathy?
Cheers.
Just want to say how awestruck and lucky, and I'm sure every one of us feels, to have known David and Phil, and David in particular, because there's so many people from so many different walks of life that he befriended and brought into his family and gave himself and his money even, and his heart. And it's such a gift, especially now in this world.
Sure.
And we won't get into politics, because David would definitely get into politics. But I've never met a man like him. I feel so lucky that he was in our lives, because I don't think we'll ever meet another man like him again. And at the end, whenever he would leave, he would say, bye, kids. I'm 73. I'm still a kid. Hey! So, cheers to David.
Cheers. I'm just going to go to carry on with a neighbor theme.
From you?
Yeah, no. And we're missing John and Marcia, so I thought
Yes.
I'd take this so that you can see this. Just to carry on with the bird thing and the BB gun, it was my wife's fault, and let the record be told. She got so crazy, and you might remember this, Mike. These ducklings got eaten in like 5 minutes with the big evil night heron. And she's out there screaming, oh, do something, do something. It's like maybe the first year we were here, and Philip came and he did. I thought he was like like doing all those like warning shots, but apparently not. Maybe the warning shot at their window. You know, I live right there, and I bought the house, and I was the first one in the house. I came to the window to open it. It was hot. David ran out here and said, "Hi, neighbor, hi." Oh my God, they could see us. They're looking at us like I'm going back. But that progressed over the years of looking at this, the most beautiful property really on the lagoon. I mean, it truly is. If you go with the boat, they all don't look like this at all. And, you know, we see what they're doing, and it's brunch, and there's Peter, and he's got his flower arrangement. You know, it's kind of like they're part of your family. You know, you see what's going on, and you're a little snoopy, but it's kind of natural, right? Because it's right there. So that progressed even to modern times where, you know, David and Phil weren't always feeling that well. And I honestly don't snoop that much. Everyone else does. Did you see what happened? No, I'm like, I don't even. But then I started paying attention because I felt like they're part of my family. I want to know, oh, good, the light went off. It's at bedtime. Oh, good. Oh, they're cooking in the kitchen. You know, you just feel, I'm so glad that I could see everything. And it's like a stage. And, you know, I always sort of felt like I'm sort of the new guy here, the second comer. But, I mean, he just has been so welcoming to our family. And, you know, Maddie, our dog passed away. We loved our dog more than anybody. And a couple of days later, he got her a stuffed animal that looked like our dog. I mean, it was just like he was the uncle. And when he passed, I mean, we didn't want to open the windows. We didn't want to see this place. It was kind of depressing to look at it. All of a sudden, something that had been such joy is now, oh, you know. But I feel like with John and Marcia here, they're such great caretakers, and they've kept his spirit alive. So I super appreciate that. And, you know, we're all lucky to have known both of them.
Yeah, so nice.
John, I heard you mention a story that I'm looking at you.
Is there another John here?
And if anybody knows, Philip and David had so many adventures. And it's one adventure that was sort of funny because it was like Philip had to admit to David that they're going to Vancouver to pick up a Rolls Royce. And if anybody read the book, it's amazing. But they went up to Vancouver and drove back this beautiful Rolls Royce. And they brought it back here, and they put this wonderful license plate on it called Tootsie. And in Alameda, they have the most wonderful July 4th parade. And so John and I and Philip and David went out in the Rolls Royce, and we participated in the parade. And David thought it would be a great idea to make these wonderful little sticks with Grey Poupon. And so as we went down, we would just put up the thing, "Pardon me, does anybody have any Grey Poupon?" And we carried on this whole 3 miles doing this while John and Phil are throwing Tootsie Rolls out the back. And it was just another one of their sort of adventures. They got rid of that car after it sat here in the driveway or in the garage for another 15 years doing nothing. But they finally got rid of it. And that's just one more chapter in their life. All right.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please. We'd like more stories.
Short story. I probably am in a unique position for this group. I never met David. Cassie introduced us at the meditation class, and we connected and continued meditating every Tuesday afternoon for the next 5.5 years. And when I heard that David had passed away, I called the other 2 women that are still in the group, and I said, I just can't believe he's gone. He's been at every Tuesday afternoon for 5.5 years. So then we started talking about doing the photographs, and I started looking through my emails looking for photos of David and things that he had sent. And I realized David had really missed a lot of Tuesday afternoons. He'd been sick, he'd been to Africa, he'd done this, but his presence was so strong that I didn't notice that he wasn't there physically. That is such a testament to a man, that he impacted us even when he wasn't there. I feel very blessed that I got to know him and got to meet him and to see. So today I've been walking around, oh look, that's the miniature house. Oh look, that's the Ganesh. Oh look. Because he showed us these things that he'd walk around with his laptop. Yeah. See this? See this? Phil made this. Phil did that. We bought this. And it's like walking into a dream or a movie or something. Now I get to see those things, meet the people that he talked about to us. What an amazing thing for somebody that I never even met. That says a lot for David, I think.
So sweet.
Yeah, Peter. I can't believe we have like 4 Peters.
How many Johns?
The Peter and Joan Show.
I'm Peter Benziger. My wife is Margie. Our daughter actually lives about 16 canoe paddles down the road here. But I've been working at the Alameda Food Bank for about 8 years since we sailed in here. My wife and I did an 8-year trip around the world in our sailboat. And of course, David was a great traveler. And so he loved hearing the stories, and I loved hearing the stories from him. But I actually met him in a very interesting way. Not only do we work at the food bank physically, but every morning I am on a program called Network for Good, which is a donor management program. So I see every donation that's come in. And my wife writes an email, a different one every month. And this computer program will send a personal email to a donor and put their name on it and the amount and say that it's tax-free, but thank you. And for certain donors, I do personal videos. And David gave a very substantial amount of money every month. And so I did a personal video to him, and he wrote back, and I wrote back to him, and then I invited him to the food bank. And I watched him walk in with his cane, and my wife always says, why can't you dress like David? Because I just don't, and I never will, but he always looked great. And he walked into the food bank and just looked around like this, and he just said, I had no idea. There were so many people pushing shopping carts and trying to get food, and we have a big operation, but he just said, I had no idea. And he said, tell me some of the stories. So I started telling him some of the stories about how people arrive at the food bank, their lives change overnight. All of a sudden everything is great, and then it's just not. And it's economic. One of our clients was changing oil under a car. Somebody shot him in both legs. It just goes on and on. The stories are endless. Divorce, marriage, losing your job. So he had a huge capacity for listening and compassion. And we took him out on our boat. We have a boat over here, and we would take him to the yacht club and have lunch there, and he'd watch the sailing. And he told me before he passed, he said, I've got some very bad medical news. And I said, well, you don't have to tell me, but how bad is it? And he said, it's not good. They've told me to go and get my affairs in order. And so I didn't realize how fast it was going to happen. But in the several years that I've known him, I always kind of think of if somebody bothers me, I have to give them the key to my heart to let them bother me. It's really up to me as how I perceive the rest of the world and how I interpret what happens out there. And there are very few people I trust to kind of take a key to my heart, and David was one of them. When I think of having in my heart, there's a little door I open to let certain people in, and others I don't take the risk because it's just too risky. I just think David had a barn door for heart. His heart was just open. So.
Pretty nice.
I do. Although I am a musician and a performer, I don't do public speaking. So I felt really moved to riff on Peter's comments because David gave me and Glo a key to his gate here after I met him the first time to launch our kayak off of his dock. And Glo said, "Oh, we should call David. We can kayak from his place." And I was like, "I haven't met him yet." This was early in Glo's relationship with David. And I was like, he doesn't want us coming over with our dirty kayak bothering him. And the very first time that I met him, it was so open-hearted and loving. And, you know, it's not that many people in their 70s and 80s who just collect people the way that he has done, and with so much love and presence and joy. And I feel so lucky to have met him, although I wish I could have met him decades earlier, to have met him when I did, and that he like immediately opened his heart to me. And truly, on our first meeting, he was like, "Here's a key." And we've only come back a couple times, but being here in this house, coming here on Bastille Day, meeting so many amazing friends who bring forth that spirit, that love. And although we miss him deeply, I feel so much of that love, and it's an inspiration to me in the way that I move forward in life, in my solid middle years here, and knowing that somebody has lived so long as he did with that open heart, love, presence, and peace. And thank you to everyone for bringing that today. It's really beautiful.
Well, excuse me, my voice is a little raspy, but there's a lot of things that I would love to share about David and obviously Phil, because me and my family met him. We met both of them, and I think it's been about a little bit over 10 years that we known both. And the moment that we met them, which was at the Pierce's house, that I'm never gonna forget, it's like they knew us already. Like, oh, you know, it was like we knew them too, you know. Anyway, so then after that, you know, throughout the years, they just became, like tios, like uncles, you know, to us, to me and my sister. And my mom would say, "Oh, they're like my dad," you know, because my mom's from here. Anyways, and you know, when Phil passed away, it was really hard too, because he was just, you know, he was more like always fast, like running, you know, and but when David passed away too, it's like, I don't know, it was a little bit more, I can't explain it. It's just, it's hard to accept it still, you know. I remember when I got the call, I was working, and my mouth was just like, and I was speechless, and I didn't know what to say. My mom called me, and I'm like, I don't know, I think I can say for a few minutes I was speechless, because we had just visited him at the hospital when he was there like 2 days before. It was a Monday, I remember. And we live in Richmond, and he was like, when he saw us walk into the room, he's like, "You guys are here," because we live in Richmond, right? He was like, "I can't believe you guys made it." I'm like, "Of course we're gonna come out here. It's nothing. It's you were visiting David, you know." And he was so happy. We were happy. We were laughing. And I'm not gonna forget, I was watching, because I'm a caregiver, so in that moment my caregiveness just popped in, you know, and I was like watching his vitals and everything, and I was just looking at his breathing, and he has his little exercise
His respiratory?
yes, that they give to everyone when you're in the hospital for a long time. And I was like, "Are you even using that, David?" He goes, "No, not real, Mike. You need to do it 10 puffs every hour, okay?" And he's like, "Okay." So he grabbed it and he started, you know, doing it. I'm like, "Okay." Now we were there for about 2 hours, right? 2 hours. And I was timing, okay, 1 more hour, come on, let's do it again. So he did 20 puffs while we were there, and I was like, yeah, you know, he was, I mean, we said, okay, when you get home, my mom was gonna come and make him some chicken soup, and, you know, we were gonna, you know, spend some time with him and everything. And, you know, it's just really, really hard when you know someone for all these years, you know, and they become your family, You know, this is the chosen family that we call, not the blood related. I don't know. I think there's a term for that. It's the family you choose. You know, not
chosen.
the family you actually get.
Born.
Yeah, and to be honest, I can say that I've counted more on them than I've had on my actual blood family, and that's what hurts the most. That they become more closer than your actual blood, right? You know, because the way, especially the way Phil and David were, you know, and when Phil passed away, you know, David, when he joined the meditation group, oh, he was just so happy. He would always brag about it. He would show us. He'd say, "Look, ladies, look," you know. And he was just so happy. And I'm actually really happy that he joined it too, because that made him cope better with the passing of Phil. And I don't know. It's just like, in a way, it's like Phil put that for him, because he was reborn. I want to say David. He was at the time, because I mean, it was just, it's like he was more full of life after, you know. And I know I always say, Felipe, that was you, you know, because he was always looking out for his David, you know. Anyways, on the day, you know, when he passed, I said, Philip, you finally took him. Really, you could have left him a little bit longer for us, you know. But I know you couldn't live any longer without him anymore. So, but it's nice to see because we would come to all his events, you know, and I see all these familiar faces, and it's beautiful that, you know, good people attract good people. So David attracted all this really great crowd of, you know, you guys, and I hope that maybe we can continue doing this once a year, you know, just get together in remembrance of them. And, you know, just because to be honest, I feel like they're not gone. You know, I feel like they're here. They're running around fixing stuff or whatever, especially David, you know, running around talking to everyone, sitting down and, you know, lighting up the special cigarette, you know, that but anyways, all I can say is, you know, I love him dearly. I'm gonna miss him so much. And the other thing is, I was lucky to have him in my wedding, and because I only had 13 people in my wedding, and I said to myself, the people that are gonna be in my wedding are only gonna be special people, no fake family, you know, fake friends. No, I want real people good people that are actually going to be really, really happy for me. And David was one of them. He was so happy for my marriage. He always remembered my husband every time. Well, obviously he met him before we got married, but even after that, he would, oh, your husband, Raphael. He would always include him. Even though Raphael works so much, he never had a chance to come over and visit. But when they would see each other, because he would go to our family parties, David, they would see each other, and it was beautiful. But I mean, the way he was just always remembered everyone, you know, and it's just, yeah, we were his family. We are his family. So I hope we always, you know, remember him, never forget. And if you know, one day you're like, oh, where's David? He's out traveling, you know, 10 days, a month maybe. What was the longest? Africa, right? That was his longest trip, for a month? Because he did go out for, I won't remember his trip. Yeah, so he's out on a trip. And another journey of his, so.
Thanks, bro.
What I was just going to say is a bunch of his Michigan family is here. We heard so much about all of you. David was someone who was energized by great people, and then he always wanted to share those great experiences with us. So even though we were far in Michigan, we were close because, as you all know, he was an emailer and a talker, and so we felt like we knew a lot of you, and we're happy to come out here and celebrate. And you know, I think the best thing we can do for David is pay it forward. He loved to help others. He would try to spread his positiveness, and that's what we all hope to continue to do. And you know, hopefully stay in touch with all of you. But I still miss my emails with pictures and menus of the latest party or the latest something. So it's a pleasure to be out here with all of you and all the kind words you've said about him. He's wonderful. And I will say that
the same goes for us. So we hear everything about the Michigan family. We hear everything about all of the people, and we know so many of the people here. And I knew that David was going to pass. He told Pete, "It's the circle of life. It's fine. I'm ready for it." He knew it was coming. But every time I tell someone about what I'm doing, people kept asking me, "What are you doing over the weekend?" Well, I'm going to a memorial, but it's for this person, and I would just go on and on about David and just everything that he's done for all of the people in his life and how wonderful of a person he was. And all of those stories about Phil and David. I mean, I remember Pete's supposed to be telling this, but Phil was up here when he was 90 years old, I think, building this lattice. Pete came over and he's like, "That man's like, he's got the body of a 20-year-old. What's he doing up here?" And every time, like, there's just so many stories that we all know about Phil and David, and I'm not going to retell them all. But there's just so many stories, and every time someone asks me, you know, "What's going on this weekend?" I'm like, "Let me tell you about this couple. You'll never meet anyone like the two of them. They were just, we miss them dearly."
Oh, sweet.
So, see, I'll just introduce a little bit. I'm David Krupp. Here's my brother Peter, Amy, his wife Sue, my daughter Kelsey, my son Connor. Connor lives out in San Francisco with like pavement up there, right by my Nancy back there. Kelsey's husband George right there. So we've got, I don't know, a dozen Krupps out here. My mom goes by Gaskin, but we're Krupps.
Sounds like a commercial.
Amy's a Lambert, technically, so we got a couple different names. But over the last couple of years, when David first got diagnosed with prostate cancer, he made a big effort to introduce us to a certain smaller group of this group. We were over here for a nice dinner. We came back a couple times, and then he really brought John and Marcia to Michigan. I think a couple times it got close to us. We came out, hung out with John and Marcia a couple times over here, and really got to know those guys. And my wife gives me now that I call John too much because I get sick of texting, so I'll just call him and we just talk randomly about stuff. And like they would have been a big part of this day, but everybody knows they had to split out early, so I feel like they would have been much better to tell more stories than me. But I just wanted to say hi and make sure you guys knew the Gaskin, you know, the Michigan family was represented here today.
Well, and you forget, the other part of the Gaskin family is our cousin.
Okay, we got the UK side, so you should say
Oh, yeah, he went
Get to
there.
travel to Florida.
Oh yeah, absolutely. At last I win something.
Oh.
I will stand.
say something.
Yeah,
Representing the
It's
UK.
good for the knee.
Yeah, I know. But everybody has got their own memories of David, and I've got loads. Oh, here we go. But yeah, David's family here, and they're all a product of a very poor family in the East End of London. And David's father came over on a boat, never saw his parents again. One-way ticket, one shot at life, which he absolutely took, and had 4 wonderful kids. All had lots of kids as well, big family. But you know, David just grasped life in the same way that his dad did, and he made an absolutely fantastic contribution to the world. Made so many good friends, gave of himself, and made such a contribution. It's astounding. And he welcomed me and my wife into his life. We spent a lot of time here, and yeah, wonderful, wonderful members, brilliant people, so funny, just so funny. I get my shit together a bit, but I work for the British Police Force. Have done for 22 and a half years. The first time I met David and Phil, they took me to their property in Scott Street. They'd still kept one of the condos and they were renting it out. And Phil said, "You must meet my neighbour, Chuck." He said, "I remodeled his kitchen. You must go and..." So we went and met this guy, Chuck Ruffle. Again, another really interesting character. We sat in his kitchen drinking Chivas Regal. And David said, Chuck said to David, he said, "David, you've not made me any of those brownies for such a long time." David said, "I haven't had the ingredients." So Chuck goes off, comes back with his vacuum-packed ready rubbed cannabis, and says, "Is that enough?" And David said, "Oh, I might need a bit more." He comes back with another pack. And David said, "What do you think?" He said, "I think about 5 years." Just, you know. I had to look the other way. When you're not on duty, you're not on duty. Some of the stories that didn't make it into the book about some of the stuff they did back in the day. How did they live so long? But, they certainly enjoyed themselves, that's for sure. And they never hurt anyone, that's the thing. They never hurt anyone. So, it's an honour to be here, and as I say, there's a lot of people back in the UK that think well of him as well. Yeah.
Has everybody heard the orchid story, how the orchids got here?
Oh,
No.
that's a good one.
So when I was a kid, my grandpa had a greenhouse. My grandpa was a big gardener. So I assume that some of what you're looking at here is probably a product of my mom's dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he had a greenhouse that had orchids, and then
And beautiful gardens all around
Beautiful
our house.
gardens all around.
Not this beautiful, but they try. Well, we only have a few months a year in Michigan to grow, so.
my mom's probably have to fill me in with a couple of these details. But big picture, after my grandpa passed away, they raised the orchids in Michigan in a greenhouse. I think my mom and my grandma packed them up in suitcases, you know, because orchids basically grow inside bark. Packed them up in suitcases, brought them out here, and then David started raising orchids.
1981.
Yeah, 1981, okay. And then a
How
few
many?
years.
Do you remember how many plants you brought out?
5 suitcases full. Those days, we used to check them in.
Yeah.
Check them out of their pots and put the dirt off them.
And you brought them to Scott Street, right?
Yeah.
On their little deck.
Yeah, it was a little
David
thing.
had made arrangements before we arrived to go to the orchid factory, nursery.
Yeah.
They planted them. When they arrived, put them out into a bottle for you. They did.
There's got to be, I don't know, 100 orchids, you guys, around here, I bet? Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all over the place. So 2 years ago, David persuaded me to take them back. So I'm going to build a greenhouse in Michigan and bring, I don't know, 20 of them back and try to, and then one of my kids gets to take them when I'm old.
I think those poor plants are going to miss California.
I think you're right.
This is
I
Yeah,
figure
but they'll hold on.
if the first batch dies, I know I can come back and get more. They seem to live out here quite well.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything else, or do we say cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to
Cheers.
David.
David.